I just got a notification there. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Our Smiling Faces podcast. Do apologise for the delay, first of all. We're 15 minutes late, but it happens. It's live. So, we're here, a live question answer. I'm pretty sure you've all been waiting for this to come through. We did record something not so long ago, but everything got lost. So, we'll not dwell on that one because that was a waste of everybody's time. But, we're joined again. Bestie's here, Decker's here, Mark's here. How you doing, lads?
Fantastic.
Smashing.
Absolutely fantastic.
I think I've got coronavirus, so not great, like.
Yeah, so Bestie's lost his sense of taste, haven't you, mate?
You see the shirts on me? I'll
Hung you out to dry on Twitter that night, didn't I?
It all stems back to that the last podcast we did in the Ashley, isn't it? When Decker infected with. You've done lucky to last this long.
It's been a slow burn.
Yeah, straight away. I think I've beat it, to be fair. Like I think I've got over that, but not the best like that. Bestie, is it?
Nah, it's a bit of a killer.
No taste, that beer tastes like water.
I've not had any beer since. I've been off it. Like I was yesterday afternoon. I had a bottle of Lucozade in. I thought, I'll have a bit of that. Everyone likes Lucozade, didn't they? Just nothing. It was like not soda water, but just like.
Was it the battery acid one or the orange one?
The orange one. I like them both. I like the battery.
Yeah. Battery one's amazing. Love it.
It's not got all together, but it's like stuff doesn't taste right.
We're literally on the brink of a takeover. We're talking about Lucozade. What is happening?
I was just going to chip in there with my favourite's the orange as well.
You don't get this from anywhere else. Like
a lot of people complain about the orange. Since they had
changed the recipe, didn't they?
Yeah, I think it still tastes all right, mate. Like
it's just
as good. Favourite. They brought like pink lemonade flavour out, and there's different kind of variations. A tropical one, like, but you've got the original orange, and that's the other from me. I think hula hoops, beefy or salt and vinegar. The rest will get in the bin.
Wow!
Wow.
What a start! What a start! So, first of all, once again, like we always do, thanks to Geordie Gifts and to Guillermo Clothing for sponsoring every single podcast which we do here at All Smiling Faces Podcast. The last few days, you've probably seen a few extra podcasts, which so we've had some from Emil's done one with War Flags yesterday. We've had Shell and Reese do a couple, basically just dissecting, putting things into layman's term for us thickies that haven't got a clue what's going on. And we also had one from Andy and Mitch, the Geordie dentist, today. So if you haven't listened to that one, that gives you a little bit of insight into the likes of what's happening with big in sports at the moment. But, lads, get a smile on your faces because it looks like with this close to being loaded, absolutely loaded. Monies, like the richest club in, not even in the Premier League, mate, not even in Europe, in the world. Like this doesn't happen
Jeremy
to us.
Clarkson there
in the world. Doesn't happen to us, does it?
No, well, you can see, steady on. It still hasn't. All the carry on that's been happening the last few days, especially today as well, has been a tough one. I think it's typical Newcastle United, isn't it? It's just nothing is straightforward and just goes through nice and easy. There's seems to be us against the world recently, to be honest with you, the last week.
When they've ever done anything straightforward and done things the easy way, it wouldn't be Newcastle if things went to plan, would it?
Yeah. There's been like every day there's been 2 or 3 different things that have popped up. Like obviously the kind of people have got misgivings about the kind of Saudi regime, which is like kind of fair enough, really. Like then you had the amnesty letter, then you had the BN thing yesterday, and it's just constant like a barrage and stuff. But you remember what Ashley said, when the club goes, you'll not hear about it until it's happened. It's been the exact opposite of that.
Well, to be fair though, it in some instances it hasn't really, because we didn't hear anything at all like about the documents going in and all of that kind of thing and all of those negotiations until two Tuesdays ago now, when the documents actually got leaked. So to be fair, we probably didn't hear anything about it until it had been done. That's when the documents were put on Company's House, which is a big indication that it's done by that point, isn't it?
There was a fair few articles, though, I thought, like, previously maybe the Telegraph or someone, saying that it was that it was close and that they were going to come back with a bid and all the rest of it. But I think collectively everyone thought, just like we've just discussed, oh well, if we're hearing about it, it's not going to happen. So I don't think anyone really sort of took much notice of it. But you're right in what you say. A couple of weeks ago, when them papers got leaked, that 30-page document, all of a sudden I was literally pants down. Like I was like, this is it. Like this is going to happen.
Go. Obviously, the week prior to that, I know, like I said, the voice note in the WhatsApp group which we're having, I think we all got a bit excited at that message. And obviously, if you go day by day, what I've basically heard, and Bessie had heard snippets of it as well, is starting to pan out, really, isn't it? So there's Mark's only sources there. Might not show it because we're just doing separate screens, yeah, mate. but yeah, obviously we mentioned that a deposit had been paid. A few days later, that's what was on Company's House. In that message as well, we went on to talk about Mike Ashley wanted to announce it himself. A few days after all of that, then it broke that Ashley was ready to announce it as well. So it looks like it's fallen into place, lads. I know we went through a lot of this when we recorded it that night, which obviously never saved. But look, like the podcast is called the Always Smile on Faces podcast, and I haven't got this smile like taken on my face for God knows how long now. Like my cheeks are getting fatter because I'm stuck in the house eating. Like my eyes are closing every time I smile these days, man.
It's quite unbelievable that we could be at the end of that 13-year sort of tenure, isn't it? And I think collectively all of course have wanted it, but everyone's been a bit sort of worried though, of like it's never going to happen. I never really thought it was going to happen, but I think I've fell down the path a few times though of getting so excited. Like we've sat in the Ashley before, man, even before podcasts, before we've even recorded, and I'm sitting there thinking, oh, this is amazing, it's going to happen. Mark's normally the one that's like, nah, absolutely not. But now we're so close to this happening. Like I don't even know what I'm going to do to celebrate because we can't go anywhere. So like, do I just neck cans in the garden for the whole day? Or I don't know what to do. Like I'm just so excited for that. Like
I'm getting really kind of, the longer it goes on, and it's not. I mean, what was it, 3 weeks ago? The deposits were apparently paid, and the stuff went in the Premier League. That feels like it's been years. I mean, this last 6 weeks or so feels like that anyway. But like, I really, really want it to be done now. I'm getting really kind of antsy about it.
Yeah, and you're right, because it is hard though, isn't it? When you say though, like they said it was 2 to 3 weeks, and then it's sometimes only been 2 or 3 days, but you're still on Twitter constantly searching. People are still demanding to want to know, is it done yet? Is it done? But technically, they said that it was 2 or 3 weeks, so you kind of have to be patient. But it's just hard, isn't it? When you want something so badly, you just want that confirmation, don't you? Because you're so scared of actually pulling the plug or someone spoiling it for or whatever, you know what I mean? So it's really hard. Like,
has everyone turned the notifications off from the club yet?
Have we just turned them on?
Oh, have you, mate? Oh, don't do it to yourself. Don't do it.
Loads of FIFA stuff today, and one retweet from the foundation, I think, as well.
Oh, I should have. We won you now.
Well, Atsu won you now.
Atsu won.
Jordan scored, didn't he?
Did he?
I Jordan and Shelby.
Big John Jones goal against Tottenham.
And Sissoko scored their goal with himself.
That's not bad. Like, the lag was shocking, though, right?
The worst.
Really bad, that wasn't it? I couldn't believe the Wi-Fi was that poor. Like,
it was absolutely dreadful. Absolutely dreadful.
It's because everybody in the world's working from home, innit? Everybody's broadband slowing down.
True story. Yeah. Adam's not in there, so he must agree.
Guess what's not slowing down? This Takeover. I'll tell you that.
He has one for you. If the Takeover goes through and whatever happens in the next 10, 15 years, the win, this, that, and the other, that's actually his legacy, isn't it?
It's actually what?
That's Mike Ashley's legacy, is that he put the club on a decent financial footing, kept them up, steadied the tiller, and then, because Freddie Shepherd, when he sold the club, it was seen that he just, I've seen it written, by Michael Martin, so I know he's not the most popular man in this podcast, but that Shepherd maybe wasn't as culpable as actually for what's happened, but he sold it to a bloke who hadn't done his homework with regards to due diligence and didn't have any intention of doing it out with the club, really. Ashley has done the opposite. Now, I'm not an Ashley apologist by any stretch of the imagination. I think that's abundantly clear. But it's just a weird little kind of twist at the end where Ashley's kind of if this happens, he said he'd sell it to the right person who's going to take the club forward. He didn't sell it to Barry Moore, who was fucking having a whip round. And
Kenyon was as well. Whatever it was. Kenyon was the same whip round.
Kenyon couldn't afford to do it. Now it looks as if, I mean, touch wood, he's selling it to someone who has the capacity. I mean, kind of ideological stuff about how the Saudis are, notwithstanding money-wise, he's kind of done what he said he would do.
So yeah, I think if you listen to the podcast, well, I think it was a video actually, which Shell and Reese put on, the second one which they did, they go into how Mike Ashley being a stingy bastard could work in our favour over the next couple of years. Because let's say if the takeover does go through, which it does look like it is going to happen, but they're saying because you can spend X amount times more due to like financial fair play. Don't know the ins and outs there, but because on paper we don't spend a lot of money and we're always in a profit technically, that is good for us because then we can go and spend 100 million the next transfer window. Yeah. Then obviously it's a rolling 3 transfer window sort of thing, like rolling 3 years. So obviously we spend 100 million in the next one, then obviously that impacts the next 2. So it just rolls on. But first transfer window on the back of the takeover could be massive for us as a club. Huge.
Well, it was a difference of £5 million that you could spend, wasn't it? So I think it worked out like something. It worked out about something like £90 million we could spend in the first window based on. And it would have been a lot more.
Worse, wasn't it? 70 was the lowest. Like the worst case scenario was 70.
Yeah, but even that would be without extra money coming in. So I mean, with kind of like match day income, obviously that's zero at the minute. Like, but commercial income's been kind of completely stymied, and actually hasn't it? The falling right back.
Yeah, terrible.
That'll improve however many fold, and that goes into the pot as well.
Exactly. And
huge amount of stuff could come in. Like,
financial fair play, it doesn't even look at off the field sort of things. So, like, the training facilities and things like that, it's completely a whole separate entity. So on the back of the takeover, there's going to be massive improvements, not just to the football club, but for the city. I would imagine you're going to see a huge impact across the northeast, and that's only going to benefit us as part of this country. To be honest with you.
Well, I think to touch on it a little bit, obviously there's a lot of debate of the Saudis in general in terms of everything about them. I think what we'll probably find is when they do takeover does go ahead, there'll be a lot of incredibly good PR early doors. So the first one I had read was going to be they were going to take all the staff off furlough, so that they would then take that off the government's hands. So of course that looks really good. I even heard that they were going to put money in the hospital. I think it was the NHS, the hospital at maybe Newcastle or something, or give money to some charity.
I think they've already done it, mate. I think it's X amount of million that they've put into trying to find a vaccine for it, haven't they?
I think I've seen. So I just think early doors, and rightfully to do as well, by the way, is they'll try and do everything to look like they're the right people. Do you know what I mean? So there'll be a lot of things going in the city in terms of that as well, I think. So they'll just be trying to create positive PR.
The whole thing's kind of being accused of being a PR. It's sports washing, isn't it? That's what people are saying. So that is like in itself just one big PR exercise. Like, so, I mean, it just looks as if on the footballing side of things, Newcastle are going to be the major beneficiaries of it.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to win the Champions League within 2 years, so happy days, eh?
Oh, no doubt.
So, yeah, like Newcastle fans have been a massive topic over the last couple of days, and it seems like Newcastle fans are a lot of the southern press are expecting Newcastle fans to stand up here and say, "No, don't take over our club. We don't want you to be a part of that." I think, of course,
I wouldn't say it was a lot of press.
There's quite a bit, mate.
Yeah, but it's there's two discerning voices kind of that are making the most noise, isn't there? And there's a couple of others that have kind of jumped on the board, and typically these are. With regards to the majority of them, these are the ones that have always gave Ashley a good press in the past and haven't really said anything kind of negative about him, with the exception of probably Delaney, who's a new one that's appeared on the scene.
You do not mention his name on this podcast.
What's your thoughts in it? Because I agree with what you're saying. Do you think that these people would still have the same opinion if it was somebody else? So let's just say it was West Ham. I'll just throw them out there. Or it was Man United. Do you think they would still write the same stuff, or do you think they're doing it because it's us?
I think they would to a degree, But like I've said on so many occasions, Newcastle United as a fan base across social media, it's ridiculous. You look at other clubs and they don't have the same interaction as what we do, using the likes of a hashtag for their club. If you look at obviously a hashtag NUFC, it's constant all day long. It's just refreshing. I think by keep on going at it and just repeating the same stuff over and over again, it's just generating people to their sites. Really, it's clicks. That's what it is. Yeah. I think any of that club that they would have gone for them, just not in the same way as what they have done to us. To be honest with you,
I've always said that about us. Like when you look at like how, I mean, it's not just been with us. I had TalkSport for years. Collymore and Savage have always been, and the whole thing to generate clicks, to generate phone calls for them. The thing with Richard Keys and Andy Gray, Richard Keys probably doesn't mind Newcastle that much. He didn't 25 years ago. Maybe he doesn't like it very much because of because of the arguments he's had over the past couple of years. But the more people talk about him, the more clicks. Well, you can't really click on beIN Sports, can you? But it's that kind of thing. It's driving attention to a channel, to a website, to a radio station. And that's all it is. It's really, really callous, like brazen. It's a grab for attention, basically. It's the same as what, I mean, a lot of the Chronicle, I don't want to think of the Chronicle, pardon the expression, because they would catch this fucking thing off us. But a lot of the kind of the press now, the articles that are written are shite and are really badly put together.
Who are you talking about, yeah?
Everyone, I think, mate.
It's a general thing. The mag's an example. I don't want to. The mag over the last couple of days have been fucking awful.
Bestie, you got it in for the mag, like.
Yeah, no, it is. Yeah, but them, like.
You used to love them as well.
I used to absolutely love the mag. I'd go out. I'd get it everywhere. Whenever it come out, I'd go to the shopping stand at Road and Shields, pick it up, read it cover to cover, and like it's just the decline. There's no apparent like editorial quality control. They just put anything out, and it's a lot of it. Some Chris Wool's written some good stuff on there. And there's a few lads I forget their names, so all right. But some of it's shite. Some of it's really poor. Like.
I think it's just gone to the dogs a bit, hasn't it? I think the original lads that used to look after it, kind of from setting it up and making it into probably what was the biggest and best fanzine kind of in this area for a long time. They've almost taken a bit of a back seat and brought in and allowed kind of any Tom, Dick and Harry to be able to write articles for them and use their name, which sometimes there's some decent stuff goes out, but as you say, the majority of the time it's just awful, and there's been some absolute shockers the last couple of days.
But the lads who set it up, I think Mark and Chris, I don't think are involved anymore. Mark Jensen and Chris Tate, I think they're completely gone from it now. But anyway, I kind of got sidetracked by the mag there. It's just the kind of it's get stories out, get clicks, and it's kind of a culture now online. I said the Chronicle because the Chronicle, you've got the 5 things we learned, and it's not always very good. And it's stuff like that, and it's there's some really good writers. I think Mark's a good writer, he's a nice lad as well. But the kind of the pressure they get put on by the editors, by Trinity Verity for the Chronicles, like it's such a shame. It devalues what they're writing an awful lot, I think. Like
obviously in the current circumstances as well, it's they've got to generate even more stories because there's nothing happening. There's obviously no sport that's happening out there. So every little bit of information that comes out around this takeover, they've got to get on because that's all there is for people to read. And yes, it is massive news, which is why all of the tabloids and all the national papers are picking up on it as well. But they're, as you said before there, Chris, they're not kind of focusing on the sporting side of things. They're looking at the stuff that really us as fans can do absolutely nothing about.
Of course. We can't do anything about, but we can't necessarily turn a blind eye against it. I don't want to dive into the politics of it at the moment, but we've got to have concerns to a degree, really. We can't just sit and... Well, of course, we're going to accept the takeover. We all want takeover. I'm not saying that, but we've got to be a bit cautious about how we portray ourselves as a fan base. Of course, we're going to have the Saudi owners who've got a lot of baggage with them, but as a fan base, we can't get involved and show any sort of support for things that people are standing up against, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, spot on. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, absolutely right. Yeah.
Because I think you've seen a lot over the last few days of people biting at certain people. There's one today, Bestie mentioned before, started recording about amnesty, tagging people and stuff like that. It's we need to take a sidestep and put that on one side. We can't get involved with that. It's going to put us as a fan base in a bad light, and we don't need that right now.
I think this isn't. The thing is that I don't think this goes away either. When if the takeover goes through, so it's announced in like an hour's time, they don't just go like, oh well, that's happening now. It'll be constant. You see what like some Man City fans have said, and I mean, Man City, I know they had the thing. They had a bit of a not a kind of belittle it, but a persecution complex over the European ban they got earlier in the year. And you can see with their fans on Twitter when they're going, they're coming after because we're Man City, because we're this, for that. And we've got the same thing, and it's something that we're going to. I mean, it's probably, I'll say it now, a nice problem to have. You know, I'd rather have that with a full trophy cabinet.
Well, I done a podcast with a Man City group last I can't remember what day it was, last week sometime. I done that podcast with them, and basically what they said is, don't expect this to go away. It's always going to get worse. You'll always be that club that people attack because of who the owners are, and I think we all know that's coming, to be honest with you.
It'll make a nice change, actually, though, because we're normally the club that people like to attack just for no other reason than with Newcastle. Nobody thought to attack would be because of Mike Ashley. You know, we've been saying for years and years what kind of a person he is, and in bar probably Jake Humphrey, I think he's the only person that's ever spoken out against him. So
it's going to be a weird one. It's going to be weird because we're normally the ones having to go at our owner. Like, do you know what I mean? And then the press have been defending the owner, and it's going to be the opposite way this time, where I think we're going to be rather just concentrating on the football side of things. But I do agree with what Chris is saying, of course. You've still got to be mindful of the other situation, but you're going to have the press just throwing everything at you at times. But to touch back on two things actually, sorry. The first one was, I think it's also difficult for the Chronicle to mention them and other people, because I think you've got channels doing really good stuff. Do you know what I mean? And there's, with social media and people being able to put their own views out there, I wonder if them feel as if, shit, we need to be even quicker to get something out. Because obviously, you know how quick things are on Twitter, man. Do you know what I mean? Everyone's posting things, and you've seen some of the stuff that Shell's been putting out for us, man. It's just unbelievable, man. It's unreal. Yeah. Like, it really is unreal stuff, that. And well, if I was a journalist sitting watching, looking at that, thinking, fucking hell, that's better than what I'm putting out there.
Struck all day, like, come on, lads.
Oh, honestly, I was reading it again today, thinking, fucking hell, that's unreal. Like, that is absolutely unreal. Like, you know what I mean? And then you sit and watch us talk about hula hoops and fucking tomato sauce. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
this is the content people want, man. What do you mean?
But, yeah, and then sorry to touch on Keys for 1 second. I hate to give me a time here, but I have to. I normally don't give a shit what he says, to be honest. I'm normally just, it is what it is. But I was really pissed off, with that opening line of that one yesterday or the day before when he said, I wish the Saudis weren't buying Newcastle United. So basically it sounded to me was, I wouldn't probably be arsed if they were buying someone else, but because they're buying Newcastle, I've got an issue. And that really fucked us off.
It could be taken two ways, that statement. I honestly think it was that, what you're saying. Yeah. However, it could be looked at that he's saying that he's already got this whole thing going on with Newcastle over previously because of Rafa and stuff like that, and that a lot of Newcastles are all already after him because of the way he used to go on with that. So he's saying, is he thinking, I wish it was any other club because Newcastle, because I don't want to annoy that fan base any more than I already have?
No, I think it's because we've got an opportunity of being the absolute best ever, and then he's just going to have to suck lemons for the rest of his life.
He's a self-publicist. He knows that he's going to get attention for what he says. Like,
you notice he shaved his hands as well. Have you noticed that?
Years ago.
Yeah, I was. Do you know what it is? It was only yesterday when I don't watch the show or anything. But he was sitting there with, and another thing as well. How are them in Andy Gray's flat like? I don't understand. Like, I thought anyway. I was just surprised that I seen them both in the same room. That's what I was surprised at. But anyway,
2 meters apart.
Yeah, fuck,
that's fine.
But anyway, and anyway, I was looking at his hands because often he was on his phone and that, you know what I mean? And I'm looking, I'm zooming. He's shaved his hands.
He shaved his hands years ago. I look at mine sometimes and think, oh, now he's mine. I'm getting a bit crazy, like, but
I think
he shaved them after he was using them on his daughter's best friend.
Yeah, let's not go there. But it's true. True story.
Hey, there's no allegedly needed. It's true.
Yeah, that is a true story.
He's a
It's
prick.
fact.
He's a
Facts.
I'm not sure if he shaved his hands for the occasion, like, but it is a true story.
It's to get rid of evidence.
I want to touch on Holt for a second. Another prick, right? So I noticed that he put a tweet on saying, obviously it's a disgrace. We shouldn't want it. No one should want this takeover to go through. And then someone dug out a tweet from maybe, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago that said, does it matter where the money comes from? If it's Europe, if it's English, if it's Russian, if it's... You see that? That was a brilliant one, that. Like, and again, no one's... And he went to watch Joshua, didn't he? And he banged on saying it was the greatest spectacle ever and they're changing their ways and blah, 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 blah. But now all of a sudden it doesn't count because they're buying us. Oh, they're the devil again. And I think that's bullshit, that. I really do think it's bullshit.
It suits an agenda.
Agendas, isn't
That's
it?
what it is.
Yeah.
It suits agendas.
I'm getting really annoyed. Sorry, I'm just getting pissed.
I think
You're doing it to yourself every single time, mate. He
I know.
finds himself,
I know.
you know.
I sit and talk and then just get pissed off. But yeah, I'm going to go get a beer though. 2 seconds.
No worries,
I
mate.
do think a lot of what's being said is like legitimate criticism and stuff. Like none of
Wait there,
the fans of the
Bestie, wait there, because right. So if anyone wants a question where we can like just wind Decker up, ask it now while he's not listening, right? This he's back. Shh. Yeah. So Bestie, what you were saying there is right. To be fair, mate.
Yeah, I know like his name's he's not just popular at the minute with the support, but Delaney, he's got a reputation for fighting fans online anyway. He's always in Twitter beefs.
He looks young by his photo.
He's not all bad, like, he's pretty young, like.
Looks
But
like
he's but I think you read what he says, and a lot of it, although it does come across as being a little bit spiteful at times, in the way he's conveying it. The message itself's all right, but I think he's like a dog with a bone. I think he likes leading with a jaw. He likes an argument. But that shouldn't detract from the fact that there's the concerns are legitimate, I think. But I'd rather, I just want Newcastle to win stuff.
Yeah.
I think with him, there's a little bit of, as you're saying, probably a little bit of green-eyed monster and a bit of envy there, because obviously they were linked, the Saudis, with buying Man United for quite a long length of time before the lost interest in that and moved on to us. So, I know he's saying, how bad it is, but we'll never know the answer to it. But what would his reaction have been had they have went and bought Man United? Would he have been, as
well? Did you read his article, Mark? Did you read his article that was about that? I will get given it was a while ago, but it was the same group, the same people. Someone tweeted it the day again saying, he had a go at them at this point. So I read that article from cover to cover, and he didn't say one negative word at all when it was Man United was involved. Do you know what I mean? So you can't be given that, like. But anyway,
I think he used the word concerned once.
Yeah, concerned once. Well, I'm concerned you're a wanker, so fuck off. So anyway, back to us. Right. So when do you think it's going to happen? Eh? When do you think? Because I honestly thought it was going to be today. I
think it's going to be soon. I think we're going to hear, I would say, by the start next week.
God.
There's been a lot of Saudi Arabian tweets in the last day around saying that's going to be towards the end of the month, and obviously everybody's looking at Ramadan and stuff like that. That's just around the corner. So,
so
I don't understand that bit.
On the back of Ramadan, what I want to mention, because I was probably under that opinion as well until I listened to the podcast with Andy and Mitch today. Mitch obviously is based over in Dubai there, and he said because of the current situation with COVID-19, is that business will get done. They can't not do business because it's unprecedented time. We don't know what's happening. This whole speculation about things not happening during Ramadan, it's false. Business still carries on as normal over here. It's one of those things. So I definitely think it's going to be within the next few days. We'll hear not necessarily an announcement, but I think we'll hear big news.
Do you think it'll come from the Premier League? Will say they'll come out and say that it's fine that the tests have been done, or do you think it'll be?
I think the first announcement will be from PIF. I think it'll come from the likes of PIF's social media accounts and things like that. Then quickly after that, it'll be the club announcing something, or it could even be a joint statement. You never know.
Yeah.
I think it'll be a joint statement between whether it comes from PIF or from something linked to Staveley, but it'll be joint with the club, and it'll be organised for it to go out at the same time to news outlets and out on social media and stuff like that.
I think I'll wet myself, like actually physically wet myself on the spot.
I hope they do like a video, you know, when Santi Cazorla went back to Villarreal. The magic show on the pitch.
They get the piano and the lights and all that.
I hope they do that with the stadium and halfway line, just kind of parachuting in on like a PS out of a box and that. And
to be fair, you've got to give that last credit, because Ashley said he would never ever do business with her again. Call her a tire kicker and everything. Waste of time. She was never really interested in buying the club, and was all for self-publication, really. Got to give her credit. She hasn't gave up. Yeah, like she's gone. She's found the people with the money. And it looks like it's a lot further than we ever anticipated this would ever get.
She is our saviour, I think. Like, to be honest, honestly, I do. Like, for her for 2 years or however long it's been to keep coming back and still want to find the people to get the money to buy was unbelievable. Because I think moved on to someone else. She could have, you know what I mean?
I think you've got to give Rafa some credit as well, you know, because I think Rafa was heavily involved with getting her to even look at Newcastle. So there's links back to the Liverpool days with Rafa, but I honestly think you've got to look at him, and him becoming manager of Newcastle probably put Newcastle in a bit more of a light across the likes of these countries. Having a world-class manager as Rafa in charge, it's only benefited us. I know it was only for 3 seasons? 3 seasons? 2?
3, I think.
3 seasons.
3.5,
So 3 seasons. It's done us, in this instance, it's done us a massive favour.
A huge. I mean, when you look at the clubs on a similar level in Newcastle, I kind of made the point on the Field podcast last week, but there's Newcastle.
The Field podcast, is that what we're called now? Is it?
When
they're always crying eyes we were that week, weren't we?
but the clubs are around Newcastle's size in the Premier League at the minute. You've got Villa won the Premier League then, but Villa, West Ham, even like in the Championship, Leeds are like a decent sized club who would like. The fact that we have Benitez was massive, I think. Absolutely huge. Because why else go for Newcastle ahead of one of them?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, I mentioned, because there's quite a few questions coming in over on social media the last few days saying, why do you think we are getting attacked by the likes of the press and fans of other clubs? And I said I don't necessarily think it's a jealousy thing. I think it's a huge concern for the Southern press, because how long has London had this monopoly of Premier League football? Everyone wants to move to London. All the players want to move to London. They're literally buying the best players left, right and centre. I think if Newcastle's takeover does definitely go through, the north of England is going to be a massive hotspot for Premier League football. So obviously you'll have Newcastle there. You've got the teams over the west side, so you've got Liverpool, you've got Everton, who's just had a takeover. Going further down the country, look at the Midlands. You've got Leicester, you've got Wolves that have just recently taken over. Midlands are over. It's going to be massive for Premier League football, and I think that's probably their major concern.
Possibly, but there probably is. But then in the North East, there's nothing. There's Newcastle then down to who's the closest to us in the Premier League? It's Burnley.
Burnley now.
Yeah, Burnley.
All right. I mean, Leeds hasn't come up. I
mentioned this to one of the lads the other day. It's probably a sore subject, but I know, well, the Man City takeover. Do you think they looked at that club because of Man United and thinking, we've got that there? Do you think that this could ever benefit someone like Sunderland or Middlesbrough to a degree?
It could benefit Sunderland by Mike Ashley going and buying them, couldn't it?
I just think as a northeastern sort of thing, I think takeover is only going to do good for not just ourselves, but for both of those clubs as well.
I do actually. I totally agree there, because I was speaking to one of my Sunderland mates, and to be fair, they've been alright. Like, I was expecting them. You know what I mean? What can you really say? But I was expecting, I don't know, a little bit of shit, but they've been absolutely silent. And I was speaking to one of them, one of my good mates, and I was saying to him, it could be good for them. Do you know what I mean? In terms of getting money in the area in general, and getting football kind of back in the spotlight. So, you know what I mean? It's obviously it's fantastic for us. Of course it is, and it must be fucking terrible for them, which is even better, really. But
yeah. Well, when I was listening to clubs earlier on, like Sunderland are in that club, I think, like that kind of big. Yeah, how do you quantify the size of a club? Like, but those clubs of a certain kind of stature with a history of the fan base, the stadium. I mean, Sunderland and Newcastle they should both be far bigger than they are far more successful than they are.
Yeah. I agree.
And they are up there. So I mean, if they want to get themselves up, I mean, I think the Brooks have got in there at the minute on very good for the club, like. But it isn't a Sunday podcast, so obviously I'm going to wrap this on the head pretty sharp, like. But yeah, it could well be a benefit to them, like a bit of a kind of.
Hi everybody, welcome back to the Roker Report. But what I want to mention, we did do this on the last podcast, but I know we're going to repeat ourselves, but people don't really know that.
Nobody knows. There's merit.
So, manager thing on this one. So we've had news come out that Bruce will be kept on until this season finishes, whenever that may be. And we've had news saying Poch is top of the list, so Pochettino is top, and we've had news saying Rafa is going to be top of the list. In your opinion, though, I'll start with Bestie on this one. So out of those three managers right now, who do you change it straight away? Do you keep Bruce or what?
I'm going to give a different answer last time.
All right.
Might as well.
It's good because I can't remember what my answer was last time.
I'd probably keep Bruce on. I mean, it depends, obviously. If hypothetically we're talking about the season finishing, then next season starting like as normal, which it won't. But keep Bruce on for the rest of the season if that's what happens. Get the summer, get him safe, and then like just bid him. Send him. Give him his P45. Thanks very much. You've had a decent year. Like there's a couple of £1 million to spend in your garden. And then afterwards, I'd love. I mean, I was always quite enraptured by the Rafa project, as he called it, about them kind of taking the club and recognising that there'd been a lot of negligence over the years, really, by the owners, and it had been kind of left a little bit for 12, 30 years, whatever it was. So, and he wanted to take the club forward. He wanted to do the training ground. He wanted to get rid of the wheelie bins, the inflatable fucking little Tex paddling pools.
Do you know what we should do with those wheelie bins? Sorry to interrupt you, but we should take one of the wheelie bins, right, plate it in gold, and make a statue of the wheelie bin at St. James's Park, just to remind you of what it used to be like.
All right. Do it like
a golden bin.
You know, Tottenham have got the cockerel on top of the standard airplane.
That's what the bin on the top.
With the wheelie bin.
In loving memory of Mike Ashley. The goals plate, the wheelie bin.
With a little kind of, with a little like Danny Simpson looking over the top or something like that. Like.
We'd have to have like them Sports Direct signs
literally
that are in the skips. Go and get a couple of them out and have them sticking out of the top of the wheelie bin as well.
No, so you go for Rafa Bestie.
I mean, I'm a little bit kind of torn because Pochettino's a really good, still young manager. I think I was just looking at the thing that Graham Ballagher wrote earlier on. Then he says, "Well, why would you want to go to Newcastle? He's got like his next job's like a Madrid or a Barca or why would he want to go to Newcastle?" Which is you kind of understand that. Like I think he's at that level now where as much as Newcastle are looking like they're going to be an exciting project for manager and stuff, it might not be there yet. Like so. It will cost a fortune to get Rafa back, but what's £20 million these days?
Yeah, exactly, mate. Exactly.
You sound like Ashley. You sound like Ashley. What's that?
Moving on to you, Degger. What's your thoughts on it?
So, I first of all want to say for Steve Bruce, might not go down well with many people, but I think he has to be applauded in regards to keeping the club in the position that we're in. Because if you had went with my mindset when he first come in, would be rock bottom. That's how I thought about it. So if we were rock bottom at this minute in time, then I don't believe any takeover would be happening. So I think you have to applaud him for keeping we're reasonably in the league and the takeover comes in. So keeping him on until the end of the season is perfect because I can't imagine bringing in a new person to work with this squad personally. I think see us through to the end. There's 8 or 9 games to go. That's even if they get played, to be honest. But then obviously someone then comes in. I would personally want Poch. I just think because of his age, and the project that you could have under him would be absolutely unbelievable. She's just getting some wine there. The thing is, though, like I agree with what Bessie's saying though in regards to Rafa. The reason why Rafa would be unbelievable is that he knows the area, he knows what we are, he knows the group of players that are already there. He already had the vision in his head mapped out of what he wanted to do with the club. So that in itself is quite invaluable. And I also think if you got Rafa back, can you imagine the atmosphere on the ground, man? Can you imagine it? Like every week, like I don't think you would get the same if we got Allegri. I know Ashley's gone, but let's say Allegri come in, right? And people would be absolutely buzzing because Ashley's gone, but I still don't think it would be the same. But if Rafa came back under new ownership, Christ, I mean, it would be incredible, like the atmosphere. But sorry, I've tailed a bit there. What I would personally want though is Pochettino, being honest. But I don't know if that would really happen. But
Mark.
I'm glad they've left us so much to talk about now. Like after that,
you're probably going to say keep Steve Bruce forever. I just keep.
well, you're the Bruce apologist. No, I think that the sensible thing is to the end of the season is to keep Steve Bruce where he is. Like as Decker said, he's done more than probably anyone could have imagined so far to get us in the position that we are. You know, had things not have turned out the way that they have with the situation we find ourselves in, you know, the likelihood is we probably would have been safe in the league. You know, in the couple of games that we had immediately coming up before the season got postponed. So he's probably done enough to deserve that to stay till the end of the season. Beyond that, then absolutely, there's no question about it. It's thanks for what you've done, Steve. Here's a little bit of cash off your pop. Go and enjoy your new farmhouse that you've just bought down in the northwest. And
even he must know that, mustn't he? And he know himself. He must be sitting in the house now thinking, I'm a dead man walking.
But then you've got to look at it and think the season that he's had, it's only going to propel him on to a decent job, another Premier League job. You would have thought So
you might go back Chef Wednesday. You never know.
That's definitely not happening. But he's just—it's one of those things where I think him being Newcastle United manager for the last season, it's worked out well for him as well. I know he's had some shite at times from the fans, but I think it's worked out well for him.
I think he's handled that really well and all, you know, in terms of the grief that he's getting. He's handled himself really, really well throughout all of it. He hasn't retaliated. He hasn't been a dick about it. Bless him, he hasn't even been able to walk about the fans, has he? To even applaud some of the away wins that we've had, you know. And again, he's just handled it as best he could. So, you know, there's no problems for me. But again, what Mark said there, spot on. If you've got owners like this coming in that are really trying to take us to the next level, then Steve Bruce is not part of that picture, whether you like it or not.
He's not, is he?
So no, he's not, is he? And I think he'd be the first to admit that as well. You know what I mean? It's I'm
not sure if he knows, but we've currently got 240 people tuned in right now.
Wow, that's good, isn't it? Well,
hello everybody. We are.
So hi everybody. I know we haven't been through any questions, but I will go through some of these towards the end, so don't worry about that. And if you haven't done already, go and tell everyone on social media that we're doing this as well. Get a few more on.
Get a retweet.
They've got nothing else to do, really, have they?
Dig out by your pint.
I still owe Mark 20 quid from about 4 years ago.
Oh, you do. Have you given
Adam paid Adam back as well?
No, I definitely did. I did pay Adam back. Yes.
Oh, he gets his pay.
Oh, he's nodding. Yes.
Sorry, Mark. We'll have to do a Mark versus Deck to call it.
To see who was who money.
Deck, I'll be crowdfunding the 20 quid to get it paid back to us at this race.
The most expensive subway you've ever had, isn't it, mate?
Oh, was I?
The subway, services, yeah. You only wanted about 2 or 3 quid to get a sandwich, and I went, I've only got 20 quid. Just have that and give us it back. Still waiting. Plus interest. That must be able to up to about 50 quid now.
Easy, mate. Easy.
Check out those Mark. Monies.
And it's
kind of sold that, like.
It's a good job I'm not Wonga. You'd be bankrupt.
Thank you very much. You're a special person, mate.
So moving on to players, right? I want one player, like I'm saying realistic, like, but we could literally buy anyone right now when this takeover goes through. But let's keep it in the Premier League. If you had to buy one player from another club, who would you go for? Because we had this topic in the WhatsApp group the other day. But which player would you go for?
Can I go first?
We'll start with you then this time, Bestie. Not Bestie, Decker. Forgot who you were there. Sorry.
So I like how I
look very similar.
I was going to say so I did put it in the group. For me, it would be Jack Grealish would be the player for me. I just think with he's going to leave Villa, right? But certainly by the looks of it. Now the issue you have got
if they get relegated, there's going to be a fire sale, isn't there?
Yeah.
Just as you see with any club going down, a lot of the top players leave.
The issue, of course, you've got though, obviously, is your Spurs teams. There's going to be big teams. Man United, for example.
Man United,
Well,
he's linked with Man U, isn't he?
And that's very, very difficult to kind of stop and persuade him to come to us. Why would he? But I guess all you can try and do is sell the vision to him. Do you know what I mean? That's all you can really do. But I'm trying to be realistic. I mean, I've seen people on social media saying, like, let's go for fucking Coutinho and Mbappe and Cavani. I've seen all this type of shite. Just for me, no. I think Jack Grealish is a realistic one. And sorry. In case someone else says him, I'll not say him. So somebody else now.
All right, then. Move on to Mark. Any names?
I know, as I say, we had this conversation about Grealish. He is a very good player. There's no doubt about that. But he's just not a very nice person, is he?
Yeah, we're literally getting
it's just
owned by some of the not nice people. So we can't really start criticising buying players because of drink driving when we've got people beheading people left, right, and centre.
It's not just that, is it? He's done a whole host of other stuff than that. Even most recently, deciding to go out and go to a house party when he should have been locked down.
I'm looking forward to Miguel Delaney long piece on him.
You're looking forward to Miguel Delaney's long piece? You just say. Jesus.
I think from the Premier League point of view, you've see like players that are going to be available come the summer. You look at, say, down the bottom of the table, you've got Norwich, who are dead and buried if things go as to plan with the way the table is, because they've been relegated since about October. There's probably not many players from there. They've got a couple of decent. What's the I can't think of his name. It's on the left. Pookie wasn't bad. He dried up a little bit. Villa have got
Buendia, maybe like that.
Yeah, I think Villa have got a couple of players. Something like you mentioned already. Grealish. They've got what's he called, John McGinn as well. He's very, very good. Bournemouth, there's 2 or 3 players there, and then even Watford are still in the mix down the bottom there.
I would take sorry to interrupt there. Norwich, Mark. I'd take Cantwell, Todd Cantwell. I think he's absolutely.
That's who I was trying to think of. Yeah,
brilliant.
Cantwell. So, but maybe Delafio from Watford. Good player.
Yeah, he's pretty good, that guy.
Anyone that springs to your mind, Vesty?
I like Ruben Neves at Wolves. Obviously, Wolves being kind of where they are on the table, you've got to pay more money. They're not going to go down, are they, in the near future? But for moving the team on, I think we've said all season that centre midfield, but being a bit light and a bit static looking at times, he's just a fantastic footballer, and he can strike the ball like Lauren Robert as well. And that's enough for me. That's all I want. I want someone to shoot from 40 yards.
Well, I think a lot of the things I've just seen a lot of comments come through as well. There is Kante at the end of the season. I think his contract may be up. So it's I know, absolute dream, isn't it? But I think probably what we'll probably do, we'll probably look at players who are probably coming towards the end of the career that have still got a lot to give. But the likes of Kante, players like that who probably will demand big money, last big money paycheck. But I think that's probably the route we'll go down, just for the next couple of years. Get up the league, then we'll start looking at the project of bringing younger players in and progressing them through.
Kante's going to go for me, surely, though, isn't he? He's going to go to a big
abroad, I would say.
You'd imagine so, like, yeah.
For me, that's due to finish his contract this season is Lallana from Liverpool.
I like him. Yeah,
he's going to be a free transfer, and I think that's the type of player would be an absolutely brilliant signing, I think. But I mean, I shouldn't probably do this, but I was looking at kind of how City started when them got all the money early doors and looked at the players them brought in. And if from memory, I'm thinking of like they had Bellamy, for example, and they had Gareth Barry. Now I'm not saying I'm saying Bellamy, of course. What I mean though is like
players that spend a lot of the time in the league.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, maybe coming towards the end, perhaps. Or
saying given from us as well, didn't it?
That's right, given. Yeah. Yes, it'll be. You're hoping to be like the better players from maybe 8 down over the best players from them teams to create your team. And then kind of, then you push on from there. But like, so you've still got Miggy, you've got Saint. There's still a lot of our players, I think, will obviously stay in. Can you imagine Miggy with real quality?
Well, I mentioned this on the last one, didn't I? Saying that I would love to see a lot of our lads stay there, then build a team around those. So, like you just said, like so Miggy, Saint, players like that. Look at defense, but defense isn't a bad defense. No one can say it is. Is there any defender at the top of your head where you say, right, they're walking in our team? Probably not realistically. Our defenders,
fullbacks is the main place where we've always complained about it.
We've got a cracking goalkeeper in Dubravka. We've got half decent backup in Darlow, but you look at the likes of Woodman, and he looks like he's doing well over in Swansea. So I think we're pretty set up to a certain degree in likes of defensive positions. It's just probably midfield that probably need a massive turnover and new players brought in and another striker, of course.
Aye, yeah. Up front, and you need a couple, don't you? Really, not just one either. You do need a few, but you would hope with these coming in, money wise, it's not going to be an issue. Like, do you know what I mean? You're going to have that back end of being able to bring someone in. And again, going back to the situation, you would hope that the manager coming in is going to be able to sort of express the project that's in front of her. This is what we are now. This is what we're looking to do. And you would hope every player would want to come. There's a lot of players, would want to come. You know what I mean? And join that. So you just hope.
City signed Vincent Kompany quite early on, didn't they?
Yeah, he was one. Yeah.
I mean, the first signing was Robinho. He brought in first week, and now after the takeover got announced.
Yeah, he didn't even know he was playing for, did he? He thought he was playing for Chelsea, didn't he? He sat down and he went, "It's great to be at Chelsea." And I was like, "Oh, it's Man City, mate." So, but that's the route. I don't want to go down like a QPR route or what you just mentioned there, like just throwing money at players that yes, they're a name, but you still have to. You still have to sit into that group, as maybe why Mark doesn't like Grealish, for example, thinking of his attitude, and that's probably a fair comment, to be fair. Like
that's the bit you want them to come in and fit in, because that's something that we've done well over the last few years, is have that good team spirit and that good group. And it's something that Rafa always talked about, was having that, like, no bad eggs in the changing room and in the team, in the group, and that kind of thing. And
I think if you thought of Rafa coming back, if it did, you can't imagine Rafa signing Jack Grealish, right? I can't, personally.
I wouldn't have thought so.
No, he's just too much of a risk in that regard. So I think it would be really interesting, though, if you did get Rafa, because obviously the first time round we had no money, so of course the pull wasn't as great. It would be really interesting to see with this amount of capital, with Rafa who he is, to see who he could bring in, like what contacts he's really got, and who would want to come and play for him. Would be amazing to see that, like, to be fair.
Well, to be fair, though, we saw at Liverpool to a degree, and there was a lot of players that didn't go down too well with Rafa's players that he brought in. We've seen it here at the club when he's brought certain players in. Hasn't done well. What was the goalkeeper? Was it Sells?
Sells, yeah.
Aye, the likes of
Gomez.
Yeah, there's been a few. There has been a few. So I don't want to think that just because Rafa's coming in, he's got a bit of money, that it's going to be an instant hit, because it's not. I think it's always going to be a risk. And what Mark said there about Rafa not wanting bad eggs in the team, if you're the richest club in the world, you're definitely going to have bad eggs in that team. It's look at the top class teams in the world. Every single one of them has got a handful of twats in there. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. It comes with the talent. Let's be honest.
I think that's where your manager is absolutely so key, isn't it? I mean, if you look at like Man City, look at Pep, to a degree. Look at Klopp, for example. I don't know if you probably haven't, but he was on Sky the day where he did like what we're doing with Carragher, and apparently Wijnaldum was absolutely furious with him. He didn't play him in a Champions League game, and Klopp was like I don't. That doesn't wash for me. He can be annoyed with us, but he needs to give 100%, and he knows that. And he went, I didn't know he was annoyed until you just told us. So that's the kind of respect. Whereas if you imagine, just to throw a name there, say it was Steve Bruce, Wijnaldum would tell Steve Bruce, day one, I'm pissed off. Do you know what I mean? Like you'd get like a click like we used to have under your Pardew's and under your McLarens of, he's a fucking arsehole, I'm not playing for him. That's why you need someone that is absolutely fantastic. And that's why I think like Potter or Rafa are the only people that could probably handle that, really.
That reminds us of the wild card that I mentioned on the Fields podcast was Simeone. That's who I mentioned, who hadn't been spoken about in the press.
Do you think it would be too negative though? Like, do you think fans would just be all over it?
I don't think it'll ever happen. Never, ever happen. Yeah. I think he's comfortable where he is. I don't think you'll ever see him in the Premier League. He's one of those managers where he probably realises he's worth over there. But I don't think he'll come to the Premier League. I think one of the reasons I mentioned this on the last one is that he basically doesn't want to learn English. So I don't think it's happening.
Mind you, and you would love him on the sideline, though. When you see him on the sideline, he's just giving it 10 out of 10 all the time. Like, he would be an absolute, like, people would love him immediately. Like, but
he's got that passion, like that Klopp shows, hasn't he? Of being really animated on the touchline, getting in amongst the fans, riling up the opposition fans, encouraging the home fans. So from a personality and persona on the touchline, there's not really that many like that. So he does bring something different, and he was a bloody good player as well. So from that whole point of view around, players today looking at your manager and respecting them, then you'll get that respect of that he's played at the top level, he's achieved a hell of a lot during his career, and kind of taking it now into management.
Something I didn't want to touch on, I know, sorry, we spoke about managers there, was do you know, like, in terms of when they come in, or if they come in, like, say, I've heard a lot about Keegan, about Shearer, in terms of jobs within the club and things like that. What's your thoughts on that? Like, what would you like?
That was going to be my next question, mate. There's been quite a few people sending things in, basically about the director football role and who you'd like to come in. I think a lot of people have got the heart set on an ex Newcastle player, whoever that may be. But if you were to choose one of those players, who would you choose? So obviously Shearer's being mentioned, Keegan's being mentioned, Ferdinand's being mentioned. There's quite a few that have. I think personally, Keegan, no, definitely not in regards to director of football. Ambassador role, like what Kenny Dalglish is over Liverpool's side, then yes, of course. No, I don't want him as director of the football club, and that's not saying anything bad on Keegan. I just think that page has been turned now. We need to look forward and bring someone new in. So what are your thoughts on that one?
I'm of the same opinion of you. As great as Keegan was, he's been out of the game for a hell of a lot of years now. So even by his own admission of when he came back into football with us, he'd never watched any games or anything like that. So to some extent, he probably winged it the first time around when he was here, and then his career kind of built from there. Shearer, he watches a lot of football. Obviously, it's his job. It's what he's done, since retiring on Match of the Day and having pundit appearances on overseas channels and stuff like that. So he does watch a lot of football, but that's not looking at kind of the off the field stuff, how they train, how they fit into it, the tactics side of it. So
it's how manage money as well, mate. It's a whole money thing with the director of football as well. It's not just great, he watches football. He's not a scout at the end of the day. He's a director of the football club.
That's it. So I think of the ones that you mentioned, probably Ferdinand's the only one that really ticks the boxes because he's doing that type of job now. He's been heavily involved at Spurs in the coaching and management side of things. He's been a QPR as well and doing it there as well. So in real life experience, he's got it. He's done it. He's got that connection to the club. The only thing I know, we had this conversation the other day, is he did an appearance on Sky Sports News, and he was talking about Ashley, and he kept referring to him as Michael, and talking, and that almost got us thinking, has he got a bit of a relationship with him, kind of off, not going to say off the pitch, but like, in personal life kind of thing, and then that put a little bit of a dampener on stuff. But I think there's only really him and Nico Stabizas is the other one that's been mentioned that does that type of role at the minute.
Stabizas was one I've heard got mentioned as well. There's someone else who has been director of football before who would be coming back. I haven't mentioned it. Would be his third spell, Big Joe.
Imagine that's the first appointment, bringing Kenny back in.
He knows how to handle the press.
Yeah, me. God, can you imagine something like that, man? So for me, like, I don't think, I personally, I know it's romantic to talk about it, but I don't think they'll go down a route of an ex-player like in that role. I think it'll be someone that's been established as a director of football at real high level. That obviously has connections and is done dealings. It's
going to be a businessman, isn't it? That's who it's going to be.
It's going to be. Yeah. Someone who knows football as well. Like,
It's with T. He's meant on Football Manager. He was. I used to always get him. And I can't pronounce his name, but it's the Man City one. He's just like unreal. Like, I'm not saying get him. I just mean it'll be somebody that that's done the role before. But I think in terms of like your Keegans and your Shearers, Shearer I suppose with BBC is probably quite cushy there. But like your Keegans and stuff, to get them back involved with the club. You know what I mean? Even if it's, I don't know, maybe an ambassador role, what you mentioned. Because I think if Keegan's touring the world or touring Europe, selling the name of Newcastle, I don't think you'll have anybody better doing that job.
Exactly.
Being able to, to sell the club and how the romantic side of what we are. But day-to-day business-wise and stuff, I think even Keegan would admit, well, it's not really my field. Like,
yeah, it's a sentimentality, isn't it? I mean, I don't know if other clubs have this thing where I've got a little bit of a theory that Newcastle fans in particular might want someone to come back because Keegan came back, and like it was incredible how successful he was. I mean, obviously tempered by the fact we're trophyless, like, but I agree with you, Declan, there. Like, I think it's sentimentality. I'd love to have Keegan, Shearer, Ferdinand all there, but in jobs where they're not going to do any damage.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Getting behind the bar or something like that, like sufficient programs out or something.
I would change the name of the East Stand. That would be something I would do. But again, that's romantic because it's where we are. But I would.
All right, well, what would you change the name to, mate?
It would be Keegan. I don't know. I'm not saying the Keegan Stand. That sounds terrible, but well,
Kevin Keegan stand
but Keegan Stand or the Kevin Keegan Stand or something like that. Personally, the East Stand has been just the East Stand for however long, and I think it should be something to do with Keegan because I know there's a statue there, Bobby Robson, and I'm telling you, I absolutely adore Bobby Robson. I do. But for me, there is nobody more important to this football club than Kevin Keegan. He saved us twice as a player and as a manager, and I cannot believe that there's nothing at that ground to do with him. I cannot believe it, honestly.
Well, when you mentioned earlier about there'll be an initial kind of wave of good PR, there'll be something to do with Keegan in Newcastle. But if Takeover goes through, that's a caveat. But if it goes through, there'll be something with Kevin Keegan's name on it or his boat race on it in the stadium before too long.
It would be amazing, and I think the East Stand's sitting there just ready for that. I really do.
Yeah.
So yeah,
old and decrepit like him as well now, isn't it?
Wouldn't it be unreal though if that was one of the first things they did? Obviously, the first thing you want is Sports Direct out of the building, period, everywhere. And then they say, right, we're going to name the East Stand the Keegan Stand or the Kevin Keegan Stand or something. Fucking hell, man. I'm getting a bit teary. I just think about
what they could do is if they get rid of all the Sports Direct livery and just put Kevin Keegan's name up all over the place
instead.
The thing is we don't know whether or not we're actually going to get rid of that, do we? It could have been something in a caveat of the sale, or what's to say that when Ashley's finally started paying for the sponsorship that he did this season or last, that he didn't sneak something in of agreeing a 10-year sponsorship deal where he pays 50 pence a week. It wouldn't surprise him, for him to have done something like that to keep his brand there.
I honestly think it's going to be a clean slate. I think it's going to be a nice cut away from all of this. I think when I keep saying when that this is the optimistic being here, but the takeover there. I think if it goes through, I think we're going to see a clean break. I think we won't see any Sports Direct. I think everything will be gone. Gradually, obviously not instantly, but I think everything will go.
Yeah, I'm with Chris. I believe. I honestly think that it's that far down the line now. If it wasn't, I think we would have knew. I think someone would have leaked something to say Sports Direct's going to be there for one season or whatever. Do you know what I mean? So you're hoping it's a clean slate, that's for sure.
Imagine when you walk back into St James's, it might not even be this year.
Yeah.
The way things are looking. The Chief Medical Officer has just said the day that social distancing is going to be in until they have a vaccine. That's going to be next year, probably. Imagine walking back to St James's Park, new owners, no Sports Direct anywhere, and just it's going to be unreal. Like,
if anyone's listening, we'll happily go into St James's Park, all of us, and literally take those boards down.
100%.
Get me a crowbar. We'll be there.
Yeah.
That's like something that would do Sunderland, that, isn't it?
Look, Bessie's got his screwdriver.
Screwdriver ready.
He's got
get the fans in
behind him to get us started.
Instead of changing seats, we're taking down advertising boards.
Exactly.
Have you seen him? There's a picture gone around a long time now of if St James's was black and white seats. It's like being doctored a bit.
Yeah.
That honestly is just beautiful.
That's besties. So I put the question out on social media. I'll put the question out on social media saying, obviously off the field sort of thing is not looking at players, recruitment, things like that. What's the one thing you would like the new owners to do? I think what you just said there, dig about a Keegan statue or some honorary mention to Keegan somewhere around the ground would be probably your ideal thing.
Oh,
Besties was black and white seats, wasn't it, mate?
Yeah.
Besties, so Besties was black and white seats, wasn't it, mate? Bringing black and white seats back.
I remember when I was a babe, me and Taylor couldn't afford to get tickets, so we used to stand in the corner of the Leazes and the Milburn, and there was a gate, like what Shearer's debut there, watch a few Union games there. There was a gate where you could stand at and you could watch. You saw the Leazes half the pitch, like as it was pretty much, and in the reflections of the boxes that were there at the time, you could see the reflection of the other half of the pitch. It wasn't perfect, like, but it had the black and white seats there, and it's just such a kind of. I've seen the argument made on Twitter that they're just breaching the sun. They fucking change them, like it.
Yeah,
like I say, I'll do it. I mean, there'll be an insurance job there, like, but it just looks. It looks far better having UFC along the Milburn stand, have black and white seats on one stand. It's an atmosphere thing as well, I think. Like.
It's better than grey seats, right?
Actually, no, I think black and white nets.
Nets, yeah, shout.
Totally agree. The stripe used to have them before, yeah, totally agree. Yeah.
I was watching the season review of the 95-96 season, well, the first 2/3 of it, at least the idea, and the nets look unreal, black and white.
You also mentioned in the WhatsApp group today as well that you want the all Newcastle United font back up on the East Stand.
I just wanted to be 1995 again, mate. I think that's all I want. I want to be 30-year-old.
So, Mark, what's your first thing if you had to pick one thing that you'd like them to do?
It's got to be something. It's got to be the training ground, really, doesn't it? Is look at those facilities there. How can you expect to attract the world class players that we want to bring, where you've got facilities that as we've seen on Netflix are worse than the League One clubs? You know, we haven't got a cryogenic chamber or a swimming pool. We've only got paddling pools and wheelie bins, as we've already discussed.
Soon to be golden wheelie bins.
Golden wheelie bins with Sports Direct signs on them. Yeah. So, but as we've mentioned this time and time again, and we've mentioned it earlier on around Rafa talking about that you've got to invest in that infrastructure, kind of off the pitch and away from the match day, to get the best out of the squad and out of the players, and as I say, get those players in. So we've got to look at that, whether that means we change the existing training ground that we've got, or we look to build a new one, which obviously a lot of the other clubs have done. We spent some money on the academy across the other side from the training ground. That probably is better than what we've got at.
That's a huge site as well.
Senior one. Yeah. So there's definitely the space to be able to do stuff at Benton. There's a lot of pitches and stuff like that there. They've got that, as I say, the academy over there. So you've got to look at that, the facilities there to move us forward as a club.
I want so if I'm picking something, I want the Terrace Bar. I want it renamed the Always Smiling Faces Bar. Nice blue star in the middle of it. AWSF either side. Living the dream.
Well, there's been a lot of talk about Shiraz coming back, isn't it, instead of 9? So that would be a nice touch.
It would be, but I'd heard that. Well, I suppose, I'd heard that was never meant to stay there, though. Shiraz, was it, though? Really, I know it got pulled down at a really bad time because he had a right pop with Shiraz, but apparently it was always meant to happen anyway. That Shiraz wasn't going to stay there forever, but it would be nice, though. It would be. To be honest, I'm old-fashioned. I'd probably want the Terrace Bar to go back to the club shop, to be honest, but.
Yes,
I'm old, so.
Well, I'll take the club shop. Yeah, we'll turn the old club shop into an AWSF pub.
I used to love it when that was a club shop. Like,
have a club shop like on Barrett Road. It used to be that little hut.
I used to love that one. Yeah, the little hut.
I think going back to what Mark said, Mark's bang on. Of course, that is a priority. What I'm meaning, in my mindset, is some of the, because obviously because of everything that's going on in the world, they wouldn't be able to do that so quickly because obviously they wouldn't be able to get the staff and the works to be able to do it. But to very, very quickly just come out and go, right, we're naming this that, or we're going to do this. It's such an easy thing to just decide, isn't it? And do whereas building a new training or whatever is hard, right? It's like, you know.
Yeah. I want them pints I filled from the bottom as well. That belter. I had a couple of Spurs.
We need them. We definitely need them.
That's so good. Like, except the bottom bit's like a little magnet that covers the hole.
Oh,
I soaked my trainers when I was watching the NFL.
I held my pint like that, my little finger, because I've got like 3 long fingers, right? It went underneath and it went everywhere. That's
exactly what mine did, like that.
Yeah. The stupid thing is, though, is it's taken all of these years and up until this season to somebody to cotton on to the idea that you can just get a bin, fill a bin with ice and water and cans and bottles, and just stand them in the concourses instead of having everybody queuing up
in it there, mate.
Yeah, I thought that's where it was going.
Well, that's it. They're just saving money. They've got them through the week. They're at the training club with players in them. Then on a weekday they've got cans and bottles in.
We love to St. James's fill up a beer this day.
Well, I don't know how long we've got left here, but I did want to ask one thing. Do you know, what's your thoughts if they change the name of the ground? So if them come in and pretty early on changed it, what's your thoughts on that?
If it means I'm spending time at Wembley, they can name it whatever they want to name it. But I don't think they will, mate. I think, if anything, there's been lots of talk about expansion. It's not going to happen. If anything, it's going to be a brand new stadium.
I think providing they kept the name of St. James's Park and kind of incorporated a sponsorship in around that, then
at Sports Direct.
I'd be happier with that.
Yeah, that's what he did when St. James's Park at Sports Direct. Something like that. One of Sports
Direct at St. James's Park, wasn't it?
Yeah, but
it's
I think he then used the Sports Direct Arena, didn't he? That's when it massive.
Yeah, sorry, yeah.
Not on that, like. It's one of them, and I just think I feel when you look at the Emirates, you look at City's ground there he had, you just I don't know, you kind of feel it might have to go that way. I suppose it doesn't have to. Old Trafford's still Old Trafford. Do you know what I mean?
They're all new grounds,
exactly. New grounds that's been built, and even you look at Brighton, they've done it a lot of clubs where, and I think that. It's then not sentimental. If you're moving away from your existing ground and moving to another one, then it isn't St. James's Park anymore, so it can be called whatever you like.
Yeah, that's true. Like, yeah.
I thought all the Smile Faces podcast at St. James's Park. I'm going to get it in there somewhere in the ground, I'll tell you that.
It'll be a sticker somewhere.
The AWSF Arena. That's got a good ring to it.
That would do.
Anything else? Got anything to say? Because we've been going for over an hour now. So anything else?
No, I just can't wait for it to all come out in the wash and just to hear those words. Decca, in fact, I think.
He's not allowed to say it yet. He's not allowed to say it yet.
You've got it lined up, ready.
Yeah, there's a moment. There's a moment that this is going to be happening. So I can't even. Yeah.
If something does go wrong here, I might never come back from this. Like, honestly, mentally, I might never come back because I think I've really got everything pinned on this is it. And it's not just the fact that this is it in terms of him going. It's who's going to be coming in regards to, I don't want to get in the political side again, but in regards to the back end and in regards to how far we might be able to go here is quite incredible. And this type of financial backing doesn't come around often, like, so this could be the beginning of something really special. And that's why I'm worried that if something did go wrong, oh God. But I don't want to negative. I don't want to negative. It's going to happen.
I think all the noises that are coming out, stuff that we've seen from the Premier League today, stuff that we've seen from the government today, are all kind of saying, the same thing, is that they won't really stop it because, like, the Premier League came out and said there's a set of guidelines that is applied to everybody, regardless of who buys a club, so they've got to abide by them. And as we've already discussed and seen on the other podcasts, there's no real reason why that could be kind of knocked back based on what the criteria is have set out. You know, they don't have any convictions, they don't have any insolvencies against them or anything like that. So there's no reason from a Premier League point of view that they should put a block on it. Government, as we know, they're quite happy to deal with the Saudi Arabians. They're an ally of the country as such. So again, they're not going to get involved with it. They've came out and said today that, you know, that it's none of their business, essentially. What happens there, it's down to the Premier League to decide on it, and they won't get involved with it. So all of the noises from, you know, these stories that are being kind of dragged up and, you know, trying to get clicks from various journalists are being pied off by, you know, the people that matter, which can only be a good thing. Keeps that hope alive for it, doesn't it?
It's happening. It's happening. With cans all over. So just to wrap this up once again, thanks as always to Adam. He is the man behind the scene. He's made all this happen tonight. So thanks to him. And just thanks to everyone who's put content out over the last couple of days on the channel and over on the podcast. You're going to be seeing big changes over here. The last few days, there's been 3, 4, 5 podcasts go out as well as videos. So I honestly believe as a podcast or as a fan channel, we've exceeded ourselves with this one. So mainly thanks to Shell, let's be honest with you. But it's, some of the stuff that's been put out over the last few days, it's been spectacular, to be honest with you. So fingers crossed we'll keep on progressing as a channel, as a podcast. Like I said, you're going to be seeing some changes. What I am looking at doing is transferring. Obviously, we've got all the Smiling Faces podcast here, but I'm in the process of transferring everything to the likes of a Gallagher Shots hub, where the podcast which you see from Emil, from Andy, from Shell will be Gallagher Shots. Then obviously we'll have our sub thing on the back of that. But we're only going to grow, and when this takeover happens, lads, it's cans all day long.
I've got a few chill just ready. I've got like 6 cans just ready to go because I've only got bottles normally, so I've got some cans set aside just for when it happens. I'm just going to do an Austin in the garden straight on my head. Woof.
6 cans. What are you going to do after the first half an hour of it being announced?
I've got about 200 bottles out there, so I'll just move on to bottles at that point. I've also got a lovely bottle of limited edition whiskey sitting in the sitting room ready to be opened as well. So that'll be nice. She'll love it when this happens. She'll love it.
When it happens, right? When it happens, Digger, right? I'll come down to your house, put us a glass on the wall.
I will.
2 meters away, right? And I'm there, mate. We'll celebrate this. We'll celebrate it together, even though we're 2 meters apart. But we'll celebrate this together, mate.
100%. Obviously your can is there, glasses ready. I'll give you a sleeping bag and you sleep in the front. And I'll just open the window at the night time. We've been took over, Chris.
You know. Right, everybody. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it massively. And thanks for just sticking by with. It's been a while since we've been around. 3 weeks. 3 weeks, but yeah. Thanks a lot.
Adam's computer blowing up that fettle, that one, wasn't
Adam's computer actually blew up last
so it's all Adam's fault, really, isn't it? You were fighting 2 minutes ago, but you know, let's look at the other side of it as well.
Well, like I said, thanks, and we're all of us here, everyone connected, Gallagher Shots, all Smiling Faces podcast would do appreciate it, the likes of your comments, feedback, and interaction which we'll have with you. So thanks very much. See you all later. Everybody wave.
Good night, everybody.